absolutely speaks volumes in terms of hate, because that's what it is, and it must stop. And those responsible for this activity must and will face the full rigours and force of the law. So I'm glad that the Chief Constable is here with us today to join our executive, and we have offered our collective support for police as they work to protect people, to protect property, and to face down this racism and intimidation that is occurring. And we say very clearly today to those members of the minority communities here, those that have come and built their lives here, those that have been born here, those who this is their home, we say very, very clearly to them that we value you, that we see you, that we stand firm against racism, and that we have no truck with those people out there that are inciting hatred, and we want them to feel that message strongly today in a collective way across the executive and with the Chief Constable.
Today we are collectively sending a strong and united message against violence, disorder and racism. We have been engaging throughout the week with the Chief Constable, with agencies, and we will continue to do so. Make no mistake, there will be a joint and robust response to any continued disorder. Violence is wrong, disorder is not acceptable, concerns must always be addressed through democratic processes. We must do everything that we can to de-escalate the current situation, and we urge all to work to achieve that. We have reached out to those who have been affected by the attacks and violence and have offered our full support. We want our minority communities to know that we are fully supportive of those incredible people throughout our community from right across this globe coming here to Northern Ireland and providing really good services to people here. It is deeply disturbing to hear that some of the healthcare staff who have come here to Northern Ireland are considering leaving due to fears for their safety. And on a visit to Causeway Hospital, I met with overseas staff to reassure them and to show solidarity to them and recognising the importance of those staff to all of us here. Our health service relies on many of those highly trained and skilled workers who come here and make a huge contribution. We also acknowledge the positive contribution of many ethnic minority people here, not just to our economic life, but to our public, political, social and cultural life too. Our united message here today is that violence is always wrong, violence is never the answer.
I would just want to add my unequivocal condemnation of the violence that we've seen on our streets, not just over the last weekend, but actually over the last number of months, where we've seen people intimidated from their homes, where we've seen their businesses attacked, where we have seen their accommodation being set alight, where we have seen them being abused and assaulted in the street. That violence is not representative of the vast majority of people in Northern Ireland. It does not reflect the value that we place on the diversity of our community, but it nevertheless is hugely impactful on those who feel vulnerable in the face of those attacks. We need to call it for what it is. It is racism, it is Islamophobia, it is xenophobia, and if we're going to deal with it, we need to name it for what it is and we need to challenge it. And I'm glad that as an executive we are willing to do that collectively today. I also want to pay tribute to the PSNI for the work that they have done in keeping people safe, and also extend my support to officers who have faced attack themselves as they stand between those communities and the rioters. Violence can never be acceptable in our society. It never has been and it never will be. However people arrive on our shores, whether they come here seeking refuge from violence elsewhere, whether they come here to work in our health service, whether they come here to develop their own businesses, when they are here, they are part of our community. They are valued and they deserve to be safe. And it is incumbent on all of us in political leadership, but also all of us as a community, to make them feel that they are welcomed and safe. And I would thank all those in civic society who have been reaching out to those who feel most marginalised over the last number of days and showing their support, because I believe that is of huge value to them and huge encouragement to them.
So thank you everybody for coming today, and I just want to echo and amplify everything I've heard from the First Minister, the Deputy First Minister and the Justice Minister. Listen, I think we all watched last Monday in horror as we saw the events unfold in Southport and the attack against these poor girls just going to a dance class. I have to say, I was concerned as to whether there would be a response to that, and it soon became apparent online that lies, misinformation, absolute nonsense was being put out there. That has led to what we've seen in recent days across the country, across northern towns and cities. Scenes that none of us, nobody can want. The families of those little girls who these writers probably couldn't name Alice, Bibi or Elsie Dot. They probably don't know who they are. And their families don't want any of this. And then to see what we've seen in Belfast is absolutely disgraceful. The PSNI will deal with this disorder. Those people who come out to commit these hateful crimes will be pursued with the full force of the law. We've arrested 16 people thus far, 11 are charged and in custody. Those other 5 were arrested last night. We will deal with them. And as we speak, we are going to addresses to arrest people from the disorder on Saturday night. We'll be putting out images today of others that we're yet to identify who committed these crimes. There is no place in society for this. And I'll leave you with this. I've met the Muslim communities, the leadership of those communities, but all our migrant communities, all our diverse communities feel under threat. They feel a fear of the like I have not seen in over 40 years of policing. That's not just here, that's across the country. This has got to stop, and we will stop it. Think of those communities, support those communities. Everyone in Northern Ireland needs to do that. This is one of the safest places to live in the United Kingdom. It's one of the greatest places to live in the United Kingdom. We will police this. Please make sure you support those communities, because that's what we're all doing today. And I just want to thank the ministers for inviting me here today for the opportunity to talk to them about what's happened. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we're all tight for time, but hopefully you can get through as many questions as possible. So my question is to the First and Deputy First Ministers. You've heard the strains that the PSNI are under. Was there an outcome in that meeting about additional funding for the police, given what they are dealing with?
So there's no doubt that the policing organisation is under huge resource pressure, as is all of our public services. This is a result of 14 years of Tory austerity. But there's a collective will on all of our part, as has always been the number one issue from we formed this executive, that we would fight for good public services and more funding for our public services. So there's a collective effort and a collective will in order to try to achieve more funding for our resources. But let's also be very clear. This is racist activity. This didn't occur because policing was under-resourced last night or last Saturday night or last Sunday night. What we need to do in the here and now is deal with the problem that we have in front of us, and that is this activity that we see, criminal activity, orchestrated activity on our streets. And today our effort is to send out that very clear message to all those people out there that have been impacted, that we say no to this, that we say no to racism, and that we will work with the Chief Constable and with the police service in terms of trying to achieve a better funding model. We have made that case to the Treasury. Our Finance Minister has made that case to the Treasury this week once again. Both myself and the Deputy First Minister made this case to the Labour Government earlier in the week also. We're going to continue that. I know also so has the Justice Minister equally made that case. We're going to fight for additional resources, but today this is about a collective political message to say that this is not good enough, not going to be tolerated, and the full force of the law will be applied to those people that are engaged in this activity.
Today is about standing shoulder to shoulder with the PSNI, with the Chief Constable, and the difficult challenge that he faces and his officers face. Many of those officers were injured over the course of the last week, and of course the Chief Constable and the PSNI have to get the resources that they need. There will be additional requirements due to cancelled leave, due to additional hours that will have to be worked. And also in terms of what other resources we can pull in. I know a request has been made in relation to that as well. So we will discuss all of that with the Chief Constable. He will not be doing this on his own. He will be doing that with the full support of this executive. So we will work all of that through. But of course the longer term picture is that we need an adequately funded PSNI. We have to have the right number of officers to do the job that the Chief Constable and the PSNI need to do to protect everyone right throughout Northern Ireland.
Chief Constable Vicky Hawthorne from UTV. Just last week you were expressing your frustration that you felt that this executive was not listening to your concerns, your warnings about the resourcing of the PSNI. Have you been assured today? Do you feel more comfortable with what you've heard from ministers today?
Listen, thanks for the question. I will not be quiet around what I found arriving as a Chief Constable in October last year. The organisation has been, in my view, allowed to decay to numbers that, if you compare us with any other policing organisation in England, Wales or Scotland or the Guards, we're an outlier. The executive do not get enough money for the public services of Northern Ireland. I'm the Chief Constable. I've spoken to each of these ministers and to the Prime Minister and to the Treasury. So we will sort this out. But for today, the officers of the PSNI who've stood in harm's way to protect our communities, they're the ones we should be thinking of, but not as much as the people that they're determined to protect, which is our Muslim and our diverse communities from what we've seen in the last few days. Let's deal with this disorder. And these conversations, I am being supported, but we need to see those officer numbers increase because the workforce is exhausted and they cannot continue. And they do so much more than policing now because of it's the collateral of our other public services suffering, such as health. So we've got some serious issues to be addressed here. We need to be funded to need. But this conversation today is about protecting these communities and dealing with this unrest. Let's focus on that.
RTE?
Chief Constable Vincent Kearney, RTE. Can I ask you around mutual aid, the request you've made, just in terms of numbers, to confirm? My understanding is you've asked for 4 additional units of around 100 to 120 officers, probably coming from Scotland. Is that the case? And I take it the fact you've made this request public would indicate confidence on your part that you believe those officers will arrive. If so, when would you like them in place? And what difference do you believe a relatively small number of officers can make on the ground?
So firstly, just to confirm the position, Vincent, we've asked for 4 PSUs. I've been in touch since the weekend with the Chief Constable of Police Scotland. Scotland hasn't seen the disorder, fortunately, that there's been elsewhere. They've been asked for resources into England to support them. And there are huge challenges with all the forces in England that you've seen in the last few days. Through the National Coordination Centre, we have ensured that our voice has been heard because we cannot stand up and stand alone to deal with disorder like this anymore. We need support. So I have asked for those 4 PSUs, which is around 120 officers, to be with us on Tuesday so they can assist us through to next Sunday. Because the richness of Northern Ireland, we have lots of events and lots of parades. We need to make sure that we can police those properly. Those officers, those PSU officers, are trained to a high standard to deal with public order. So having those additional resources is vital to allow us to do the policing we need to do to be prepared for any future disorder. But my message to anybody who's even thinking of coming out to commit any of these offences is just take a moment to think, why are you doing it? What is this doing to society, to your own neighbourhoods? People who come to this country, to the UK, to Northern Ireland from elsewhere, come to add value to our society. They add a richness to our society. We're all the same. You know, there's far more that joins us together than separates us. So I really want to send a message to people who are thinking of doing anything now. Please don't. Please stop this. Because if you don't, you will be arrested and you will be prosecuted. And we will have the officers, through the mutual aid, to do that for as long as we need to.
Yes, David Blevins, Sky News. First Minister, Deputy First Minister, we keep hearing the term genuine concerns, but statistics show that immigration has little to no impact on housing, healthcare, etc. So isn't it time to tell those engaging in protest that you accept that the crisis in public services is the result of political failure here and not the result of immigration?
Well, first of all, let me say there's no excuse for racism. That's it. That's as clear-cut a statement as I can make in this regard. I mean, I think that you can't mount any credible argument or anything that justifies intimidation, violence, particularly targeted towards our minority ethnic communities. There is no place for racism in this society. There is no excuse for it, and there's no dressing it up.
Yeah, to make absolutely clear, I've heard no one justifying violence, justifying disorder, justifying racism. In fact, the absolute opposite. We are standing here collectively as the Northern Ireland Executive, making it clear that all of those are unacceptable. I believe that the Northern Ireland Assembly will do likewise very shortly. Of course, people have concerns. I have no doubt that those are very genuinely held concerns in relation to access to public services, access to affordable housing. We are all in the Executive acutely aware of that. And our message to those people are very much, we are here to listen to you We will hear the concerns that you have. We will move forward to try to address those concerns. But those concerns are for the Northern Ireland Government, for the UK Government in terms of resourcing. It is for the democratic process to work through. Violence is never the answer. Violence is always wrong. That is the clear message. We're standing here today firmly against violence, disorder and racism, and there's no ifs or buts about that.
Okay, PA is going to have to be the last question, right? So much time to go.
Sorry, First and Deputy First Minister, is this basically being left down to policing to sort out? What will political leaders do to try and address why so many people feeling disenfranchised and acting out in this way?
No, it's not just down to policing. I mean, we wanted to present the United Front today, but I think that's important in terms of the political leadership that's required to say that we are united, and particularly speaking directly to those people that have been impacted and those people that are fearful right now, those people that are afraid to leave their homes or afraid to go to work. We want to send that message to them that we see you, that we value you, that you're a big part of our society, that diversity is a huge strength, that we will do everything we can to create a more inclusive and fair and equal society. What's not acceptable is the type of criminality that we see in our streets right now, which is just blatant and raw racism, and that's where the policing response is obviously crucially important. But this is going to be a collective society approach. I encourage everybody at home to reach out to their neighbour who they feel that perhaps is feeling fearful. I encourage everybody at home to make sure that they do play their part in terms of building this better society. That's what we're all committed to doing. That's certainly what I am committed to doing. I know that's what executive colleagues are committed to doing. So there's the policing response, which is absolutely crucial. But we also need to, make sure that we have the right policies in place and we have the right strategies in place to support people that make this place their home. But I'd also would like to dispel the myth and challenge the myth that this is about immigration. What's happening here in Belfast and across society is just pure racism, it's pure hatred, and it's people being opportunistic and taking things that are happening elsewhere and using it here to target people. We also see the paramilitary involvement as well. These things are criminal activity and it must stop. So we know that we've got our role to play right across government, at local government level, right down to community level, at a political level, and we do that every day. But we need to work together on this, and I think that today it's about that opportunity to send that united message.
This week we are dealing with the disorder. That's why we're standing here shoulder to shoulder with the PSNI, with the Chief Constable, to send that clear message. But we're very aware that there are much longer term issues, and those issues can't wait to be addressed. The Executive is pushing forward to address those concerns that many of the communities have. We're also very aware that community cohesion will take that focus. There are a number of interventions that have taken place over the course of a number of years. We will look at those again because we do want to build that better and brighter Northern Ireland, and that must be a Northern Ireland that is welcome to all, that everybody feels that they are happy and thriving here, and that must mean our public services working. It must mean addressing those big issues. We're acutely aware of that. But today it is about tackling this violence and disorder and working with the police to do that as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Next.